Well, the Advent season is upon us, which means Christmas is almost here, which means 2020 is almost over, and I think that's worth celebrating. So over the next 8 weeks, we're gonna go on an adventure. You're gonna have 40 days of reading in the Adventure Devotional, and over 7 youth group sessions, we're gonna look at 7 different stories that are really central to the story of Scripture. We're gonna look at the story of God and of us. Now, you might be thinking, this kind of feels kind of Sunday school basic. Yeah, but you know what? We have rituals and traditions and habits. We do the same things every year, celebrate the same things, not because we can't come up with anything else, but I think because we're a people prone to forgetting, right? We need to be reminded of what's true, of the most important stories. And so we're going to look at those most important stories to consider what's most important and true for us to remember this coming year. So all good stories start with a good beginning. Ours begins there. So we're going to start with God created the heavens and the earth and all that was in it. Now, all ancient cultures have creation mythologies. A mythology is just a story that explains why things are the way that they are. Most of them have some explanation as to why that creation took place, whether or not it was on purpose or on accident. But what I find a little peculiar about our creation story in the Bible is that it doesn't have a why. It just says God created the heavens and the earth and all that is in it. And I wonder, why did God create? I mean, was God bored? Was God tired? Did God need somebody to talk to, somebody to tell what to do? Honestly, I think all of those answers are really unsatisfactory for one simple reason, right? If God has always been Trinity, Father, Son, and Spirit, God has always existed as relationship and complete and full. And so certainly God didn't create because God needed something out of it. I want to suggest that God created for one simple reason, and that's joy. Right? That God created everything as an expression and an overflow of God's joy, that God experiences in God's self as Trinity and relationship. And I think that's a really kind of incredible way to start. So if we begin with our passage today coming from Genesis, right on the 6th day of creation, God said, "Let us make mankind in our own image. In our image, let us make them. Male and female, he created them." It would be a mistake, I think, to believe that we are the center of the story. This is not the story of us and God. This is the story of God and of us. Right? God is the central figure. God is the prime mover throughout all of Scripture. Now, we are a really important part of it, but Scripture is the story of God and of us. So if we take these two ideas, that God created as an expression and overflow of joy, and that God created us on purpose, I think it's kind of a remarkable thing to consider that God created us as an expression of joy. So in all of the scriptures that we're going to read, and all of the stories that we're going to consider, in everything that we are going to say and do over the next coming weeks and months, this is at the center. You are an expression of God's joy, created with purpose by a God who loves you. And so we need to begin there, of all places, that God created us as a sheer expression of joy.